Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. Sana Makbool, who is the regular anchor of this program, is not available for a couple of days for personal reasons. So I'm going to host the program. And today we are going to talk about the investment opportunities in Pakistan and how the Prime Minister of Pakistan and the government are trying to showcase those opportunities. Prime Minister of Pakistan actually went to Saudi Arabia, where he also participated in future investment conference. And after that, he has just arrived in Qatar. Not just arrived, actually, he is in Qatar. He was speaking a little while ago as well. And that is not all. The Pakistani government has signed new MOUs with the Saudi government, bringing the quantum of total commitment of investment to $2.8 billion. So in Qatar also we are going to hear some news, and then we have heard at least the newspapers in the country are reporting that the Prime Minister of Pakistan, once he comes back to the country, he is going to announce something new and something big regarding Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. So we are going to talk about all those matters, and remember that it is not merely FDI that the country is trying to bring in. We are also trying to encourage, or at least the government of Pakistan is trying to encourage further investment from our private sector as well, particularly when it comes to divestment from public assets, SOEs, so to speak, the state owned enterprises. And that's not all. We have heard about PI already. The government had plans that it is going to divest from that in November. So those developments are also in the motion. So we are going to talk about all these matters and more, and we are going to understand what exactly can be done further to enhance these investments. In order to help us understand these issues in the studio, I'm joined by your own Raja Faisal, who sits on my right. Thank you, Raja Sahab, for being part of the program. On my left is Faad, Senior Vice President, Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Former, of course, here somebody actually missed that, but okay. And he's also an economist. Thank you very much, Faad, for being part of the program. And on Skype, we are joined by Komal, Kenneth, Shakeel, a young and very bright economist. Thank you very much, Komal, for being part of the program. Let me start with you, Faad. What exactly are you expecting in coming days regarding investment? And do you think that now the country is open for business?
Thank you very much for having me on the show today, Farrukh. The topic today is very interesting, and I think it's right time and high time that Pakistanis understand what the Prime Minister and the government is doing for them. To understand it correctly, the SEO Summit, the recently hosting of SEO Summit in Pakistan, is a big leap forward towards prosperity and showing the world of stability, how much stable Pakistan is going to be, and how it has already feathered all the the hard caps. So I think this has been, the SEO has brought a lot of attention to Pakistan, especially the SEO member states. And when I talk about not just the member states, other states that are looking at Pakistan as a gateway to Asia is now being talked about. Nevertheless, our iron brother China has stepped up as always, and they are going to enhance the CPEC 2.0, and they're going to put in more blood in there. So I think that's another feather in the cap of Pakistan. A very interesting thing that happened on this SEO that I would like to indicate is the private sector was involved. The Federation of Pakistan, FPCCI, the president was named as chair SEO business. So that is another welcoming part where the private sector was involved. And when private sector is involved, as I've already mentioned, that we are the right stakeholders that bring the taxes in. So that being said, before this start, you also mentioned the bringing of prime ministers of talking about Qatar, talking about Malaysian prime ministers. So I think those have been wonderful, and they're giving out a soft image of Pakistan as we need. And I would actually want to correct my own self, not the soft image, but the real image of Pakistan on that.
Right. Regardless, image is image, right? And reality is reality. So we have to actually look at both. Let me now go to Komal. Komal, your take on the Prime Minister's efforts, particularly this visit, and then you can also speak about the importance of attracting FDI and what is the best way to do it.
Thank you so much, Farrukh, for having me. I would agree with Fahad on this being a very, I would say, a positive. It's a positive initiative. It's a positive. It gives a. It's a good. It's good for the country's image. However, if I've been on these kind of platforms for a while now in my career, and the key takeaway is always this, that it's just not about bringing. It's easier to attract investment in any form, but harder to retain it when it comes to Pakistan. So let it not just be all talk and show, but also it should translate into real effective reforms, especially on the infrastructure, both hard and soft side, for this to be retained. So it is, I would say, I commend, whatever happened with SEO and, all these efforts to foster regional cooperation and to have this kind of very investment friendly image. But if we sell the moon and not deliver, so it is better to under promise and over deliver than vice versa. So this is all great. I think it is great for Pakistan's image as a secure investment destination. But let's also talk figures, which maybe I will come to in the later part of the show. But um, it is very important. Overarching, I want to just give this comment that it is important to retain this investment and to be able to facilitate that. Private sector has to be encouraged. Just having a little bit of a look on whatever happened with the PIA privatization, and only one bidder came forth. So when we were discussing, okay, how to attract FDI, one of the key, uh, you know, policy, or the key real economy features are whether the private sector of that country is happy or is finding it easier to do business, which unfortunately has not been consistently the case with Pakistan. So yeah, this is something I would, word of caution as a, policy
Right.
maker,
That
as
is
a,
always prudent
yeah.
that we talk about those aspects as well. Raja Faisal, your take, your opening statement on the importance of these two visits and also what to expect in coming days.
I would obviously start with how Faad highlighted the SEO. I think SEO was pivotal. It has opened up many gates for Pakistan, and of course, Pakistan has shown its actual image to the world, which was being forgotten for a long time. And I think that was a very positive sign coming out of Pakistan. And there were so many countries, that important countries, that actually reached out to Pakistan during that time. Of course, heads of states were here, and the kind of the kind of summit we held in Pakistan, that was the let's let go moment for Pakistan to, of course, attract FDIs as well. And right now, of course, we know that right after that, Pakistan going to Saudi Arabia first and then Qatar, it is a statement itself. We know both of the countries, they have investors with very big pockets, and they tend to invest in abroad as well. And Pakistan is becoming a destination for the investors, a brotherly country. And of course, the long-standing relations we have with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a country that, I mean, every one of us would always consider as a second home to us. And same is for the people of Saudi Arabia. When they are investing in Pakistan, they always consider as their second home. When it comes to Qatar, Qatar is, of course, also interested in investing. The more I am anxiously waiting for is, Farrukh, as you have mentioned earlier, that there is a big surprise which is going to be shown right after the arrival of
Yeah,
the Prime
don't quote me
Minister.
on that. It was newspapers.
Yeah, it was the newspaper, but
Yeah.
it is good that you've highlighted, and I am anxiously waiting for that. But I think it can indicate towards, remember, we had a promise by Saudi Arabia in terms of investment in the oil refinery, which we have been anticipating since a long time. I think it is going to be there. And when it comes to Saudi Arabian investment, it had already been pledged by Saudi Arabia. that they are pledging to, of course, invest not only this year, but every year for 5 consecutive years. Every year they will be investing $5 billion in Pakistan, and I think it's a huge boost to Pakistan's economy. As we always talked about, that as soon as the IMF clearance we will be getting, all of the friendly countries, all of the brotherly countries of Pakistan, they will be heading towards Pakistan, and I think that's what is going to happen now.
Right. And Faad, earlier, because I did not want to interrupt you, we all were warming up at that time.
Yeah.
But you said that mostly this confidence in our market is because of what you call SEO's meeting. But for argument's sake, one would say that it is because Pakistan has successfully re-entered into IMF program and all the major fundamentals are stabilizing. That is why it is happening. Now, Pakistan is a very interesting case when it comes to its geography, when it comes to the kind of terrain it has. We are literally at the time when everyone is going back to gold as the part of the legal tender. At that time, we're literally sitting on one of the very big gold mines. Similarly, there are reports that Pakistan might have found certain oil reserves, offshore oil reserves as well. But in the end, usually when an investor comes, they don't invest in a country, they invest in products. Do you think we have the kind of structure that is needed to create the kind of products that are needed so that investor can come and invest? And what is your private sector doing about it?
Well, firstly, I'd like to respond to that. Pakistan does have the structure. It's only about the implementation part that's missing in Pakistan. So I think, and I would recommend this to the government at this point as well from this platform, because this consultation of stakeholder and the government policymakers is very important today. Now, if we talk about implementation of this entire the legal framework that I'm talking about for business people, if that comes into implementation, everything will be very easier and it'll bring in wonders. Similarly, as you said, people would want to invest in Pakistan. Let's say, a friendly country invests in Pakistan. We make sure everything is happening, and for that, there's another sovereign, I would say, sovereign authority that's taken place, which is the SIFC, the Special Investment Fund, the Special Investment Facility Center. So I think that's another, that council is another promising situation. For the past 2 years, they've been hardly and tirelessly working in the best efforts of Pakistan. So that being said, what the private sector is doing is less. The most important sector when it talks about. So recently, we had a very nice and warm discussion with the Prime Minister of Malaysia when he reached Pakistan. There were about 2 sessions of B2B businesses. We signed about $8 million deals in that.
8 million?
8 million.
Okay.
So which is big, and which is big at this point.
Yeah.
And secondly, one of the major things that happened in that conference was Pakistan was shown much preference towards meat exports.
Yeah.
So Pakistani
Halal
companies, yes,
certification.
halal certifications, and Pakistanis were preferred from the even from the mouth of the Prime Minister of Malaysia was speaking on this, that they prefer Pakistani meat over others. Yeah. So those are opportunities that we need to understand, and we need to actually bring the framework out. And for that, it's important for the private sector to be in.
Allow me to actually counter-question this, because I want to understand, when you're talking about the structure being there, my concern was whether there are operative or operational projects where people can come and invest, right? Especially when it comes to the overall structure of the private sector. And that is not all. When you were just talking about Malaysia and the opportunities that have arisen, may it be basmati, may it be meat, are we adding value to what we are going to export, or is it just going to be complexity free commodities that we are just going to actually export?
Farrukh, I always say this, Pakistan's just a case of bad branding. We have all the products here, but we have certainly in the past failed to add value to our services and products. But this is not the case anymore. Our young generation has taken this up, and they've really and rightly listened to all the elders as we speak. The entrepreneurship that we see in Pakistanis today it's way different than it was back in the day. So yes, it is bringing there. the value addition that we talk about today, it's been on there. If you see, there's a lot of interest in pink salt of Pakistan, the Himalayan salt we talk about. Recently, you know, the GI factor, the GI indication on that was also upheld, and Pakistan also got preference on that. So that has boosted not just the pink salt, but that has also boosted the basmati rice. And a ripple effect of that was also the mango. So the mango was also in the same category. When I talk about this, the agriculture itself has, you know, shown a lot of interest. Recently, I read through a case study that olives were being grown all over Pakistan, in all the lands where nothing else was being grown. So that's another sign of entrepreneurship. That's another sign that Pakistan is ready for the world.
And I understand what you're saying, but I still was waiting because you were actually mentioning all the products which were commodities. And I did not get any value addition, but allow me to actually go to Komal. Komal Sahib, your take on the importance of how our local business is structured and whether Pakistan is putting in the kind of effort that is needed to actually attract investment. Of course, the Prime Minister of Pakistan can go to another government or investors there and, you know, push for Pakistan's case. But in the end, it is the environment that is going to attract the businesses. So do you think that we have that kind of a structure laid out?
So let me back up what I think with data, yeah, and let me share a few stats and let me share a little bit of what the world is saying about it. So the first ever Be Ready report is here. Be Ready report is kind of like the predecessor to this was the World Bank's ease of doing business. For whatever reasons, you know, about data, this was kind of shelved, but this is the new outlook on the investment climate of Pakistan. So let's see what the numbers are saying. So we have three pillars in that, which is regulatory framework and their public services and operational efficiency. And Pakistan, ji, mashallah, is doing well on these pillars. And for two pillars, the regulatory framework and public services, we are still in the second quintile out of 5 quintiles possible. And for the operational efficiency, which is what we are now discussing, whether there is the product infrastructure, whether we have the products over here to support. So let's just talk about the operational efficiency bit. We're in the first quintile, so we're scoring around 65 something from 100, a maximum score of 100. So that's pretty good. And what does this pillar entail? What are we talking about when we are talking about operational efficiencies? So we're looking at the facilities that support regulatory compliance. And we're looking at infrastructure for which, for doing business. So, we are doing pretty well. So that means compared to other countries in the world, we are in the first quintile. We are amongst countries that are probably competing for the highest price. So we're doing well on that end. Where we need to improve is what kind of rules and regulations we have for firms and how easy it is for them to kind of understand them or incorporate them when they're starting a business till the end of a business's life cycle, including like getting permits and all. So the operational efficiency part is there. We are doing rather well on the public services as well. That is a good score. Where we really, really need to improve is the regulatory side of it, and not just make more rules, but to make easier rules. And for that, maybe, revising rules is one thing. And the other thing, and how to solve it, is to use technology. So Pakistan Single Window, for example, for trade facilitation is doing a very good job with their, they've introduced the whole process of filing a GD, and they've made it electronic. So everything you can do online, from making the payments to all submitting all the documents, all the approvals, all the NOC. So the user and the regulator are interacting through a system. So that's a great thing for operational efficiency. So we are having two aspects of this infrastructure which will facilitate business. So at one point there is the demand side, and then there is the supply side. So the government is doing things to make it easier to comply with rules. But at the same time, I think the private sector, needs to be incentivized in a way that it actually is easier. and then their feedback is also very important. So regular mechanisms of organized feedback sharing is very, very important for this infrastructure to work. And for this, we are producing, like Fahad rightly pointed out, we are producing these things and people are making these entrepreneurial ventures and on their own, but a little bit of support from the overall macroeconomic framework and regulatory framework would really spur this forward. One thing that I really see, in the future, which would be important, is if we want to export to European markets, we need to start becoming, from a regulatory point of view, ESG compliant, for example. This will soon become a requirement. The State Bank is doing this for banks. Under the GSP Plus, we are now supposed to look at the environmental and sustainability and good governance elements, involved in the production of all the exports, primarily textiles. And then we have the development sector and the international partners who are also willing to provide technical support on making Pakistan ready for this new new paradigm, I would say, or new trade system.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to come back to you, Raja Faisal. Every time we talk about investment, you end up actually talking about IT. And there's a news flash here, and we have an obsession with this thing also. I remember General Pervez Musharraf came to power, made Ataur Rahman the in charge of investment and all whatnot. Not investment, but certain departments regarding that. And he ended up actually focusing on only call centers. Now, the news flash is that AI seems to be rewriting code. Now, it is said that within 5-6 years, you won't need any coder. And without coding, you can't have software engineering. But why is it that we wake up when water has gone far beyond our head? And why is it that we keep on losing these opportunities? What exactly can we do now to capitalize on the kind of new market that is actually developing in the world?
हमेशा देर कर देता हूँ मैं. Farrukh, I think as we know that world is heading towards AI centric markets in future as well. So I think for now we have to put efforts to get to know that. And as a couple of days ago when we were talking about the universities performing well, the universities producing good students who have, of course, their research done, but when it comes to making opportunities for them, university grads, it is very hard to get in Pakistan. But I think this is the time that they have to, investors, they have to think about this, that whoever is coming out of the universities, especially the IT grads, they are the ones who would be having future solutions, especially the youngsters. I mean, the ones, as you have earlier mentioned about the Dr. Ataur Rahman as well, of course, at that time, the sort of IT development sector, it only focused on the call centers and nothing else. And later on, we saw.
No, hang on. That is totally wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it because I want some accountability for that man.
Yeah.
He was himself a biochemist, and biotechnology was booming at that time also. We did not invest. IT also had so many products that could have been actually made. But unfortunately, we ended up only for the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And that did not last for very long, right?
And exactly, and that was the very time when India was actually posed with this kind of opportunity, and they actually cashed on it. And right now, of course, India is sitting at more than 100 billion worth of IT export, and what Pakistan is sitting at, it is 2.7 or 2.8 billion worth. Whereas, I mean, people who work in the IT sector, they always claim that Pakistan has the sort of capacity to generate more than $50 billion, which we are not right now. There are hurdles in which, of course, we have been highlighting in recent past related to hindrances when it comes to the unhindered kind of IT internet services, so that people can utilize all of their capacities. And when it comes to a country like Pakistan, we keep on highlighting this, that a country like Pakistan, where still it is considered as women working in the working stations or offices, it is considered as a taboo. It's an opportunity for a country like Pakistan, where there is female youth, is a vibrant youth, and they can play their role when it comes to IT sector. They can earn dollars for Pakistan, and that can be a sort of a source of bringing dollar to Pakistan. And I think it is an opportunity that needs to be cashed on. And AI centric, even our universities, they need to start giving the courses related to whatever they are doing, related to the marketing. I mean, now everything is being shifted to digital side, digital marketing. I mean, people are hearing about digital marketing and all sorts, and we are still stuck somewhere down there, down the line, where we're still utilizing the old tools which are simply outdated, to be honest. And I think Pakistan needs to look into that, and education sector as well, they have to upgrade themselves.
Faad, one interesting argument that I've heard from business community repeatedly, particularly regarding IT sector, many people keep on complaining about the quality of education. If you have gone, I'm sure you have gone many times to Silicon Valley, it is mostly powered by, school or college dropouts. And those people are not PhDs, they are not experts, especially through the, traditional means. And yet they are tech billionaires. Is it actually, is the problem with only education, or is there something wrong with the infrastructure? Because usually when you go to a company, even if you're not that skilled, the company actually finds a way to train you and give you the kind of tools that are needed. And then of course there's another question, because we keep on talking about lost opportunities. R&D is very important. And we, the other day also, we kept on talking about R&D. R&D has to be improved. Why is it that the private sector cannot show initiative in that aspect?
Farrukh, it's very interesting, and the answer lies, it's not the education, it's not the infrastructure, it's actually the perception, how Pakistan perceives education. So if you hear it correctly, and I'm pretty sure you know it, that we only grade the students that are in the A grades. We score them as the best students of the companies. But if you talk about billionaires today, as you already did, they're billionaires of IT sector, but they're college dropouts. So we actually have to understand the soft skill sets that we can provide to this youth. It's not about scoring A's all the time. It's only about getting the grasp of information and being able to actually handle it. I was a C grader, where I ended up. So that's what we need to understand. And once we have this perception and we clear this, that it's not important to have an A in your report, but it's rather to know the right understanding of the same. So yes, that being said, we need to educate our youth towards more skill sets. Similarly, when you talked about IT, yes, there is a lot of influx. Yes, there is a lot of attention. But at the same work, yes, there is some lacking from the government side, that we have to be a little more proactive than our education system is. The biggest problem between the R&D sector and the companies and the private companies is the academia industry linkages. So that's absent in Pakistan. So we really need to work on. In the past 2 years, I've worked on it.
Just to clarify,
Sure.
You have a business, right? Do you have dedicated R&D cell which actually brings out all the information and opportunities that can be tapped on? I'm asking because there are glaring openings that are not being exploited. Let me give you one very simple example. Pakistan imports a lot, Pakistan exports a lot as well. Usually it happens through shipping containers.
Yes.
Do you know how many private shipping lines do we have? Zero.
Yes.
Right? And of course, people can mention that Bhuttos have actually nationalized them, and that's why they have disappeared. But what is stopping you now? There's an opportunity. So explain to me, if there's R&D and if there's enough imagination, why do you think we are not exploiting those opportunities? We are waiting for FDI to come, some angel to come and rescue the sector.
I wouldn't say we're waiting for an angel. It's actually the problem that innovation has a very key role when it comes to building a nation. And we've seen that, recently, whenever you've innovated a business in Pakistan, somewhere or the other, the framework has not been present. Similarly, if I want to talk about this, 3 years ago when IT was soaring and there was booming opportunities for Pakistan, there wasn't enough framework for banking sector for those freelancers to have the money come in. That framework only came in a year and a half ago. So that's 1.5 years of worth of discussion that I'm talking about, and that converted into almost 1.1 billion for exports. So just think about it. If the lost time we cannot account for, but whatever we have today, yes, there is innovation. Yes, there's a government in Pakistan right now that wants to go ahead, that wants to talk about new business, that wants to bring in new innovation in businesses. So yes, this is the right kind time. And to tell you what the private sector is doing about this, there's tons of things that we are doing, and I'm not going to disclose it today, but the good news that you're going to hear from the Prime Minister when he's back, I'm pretty sure I'm going to give you one in the next
hang on. The
month.
Prime Minister is Prime Minister of the company, not the private sector. So he won't be able to speak on behalf of private sector. You'll have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Surprise after surprise.
Huh?
The thing is, we are looking into all
When
indigenous
you say
exports.
we, you meant Pakistan, or
I
you meant
talk about the
sector?
private sector.
Okay.
I represent the private sector.
Yeah, of
So
course.
when I talk about we, it's the entire private sector. We are looking at bringing in shipping lines. We are looking at bringing in more services that Pakistan has never seen before. We are also engaging the private sector into bringing mortgage system into Pakistan to understand that the standard of living is not going to improve without the bank lending to the local people.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you understand today, the bank is only lending to
Government.
85% to government entities.
Yeah,
and the
but
rest
even,
is on the grind.
hang on. With due respect, even when it actually lends to the private sector, what are the products they are, losing money to?
Well, they're not losing money.
No, hang on. No, but I mean, where are they investing? They are investing either in people purchasing cars or, for that matter, houses, mostly that. And amazingly, we have actually consumed a lot of our resources just to ensure some kind of that kind of keeping up appearances. Let me now go to Komal, because I need an academic / strategic or analytical assessment of these questions that I asked regarding our R&D and also our academic sector, and then of course how to hone that, and what explains these glaring lapses in our investment. For example, we are not using any private shipping companies here in this country. Similarly, this country has 1,300 kilometers worth of coastal line, coastal belt, and the country has a lot of rivers as well. The country can produce a lot of seafood, but the average consumption of that is also 1.5 kg per head, I think, per annum. So there are opportunities, but we seem to be ignoring or turning our backs towards them. And okay, I am not going to wait for an angel, but maybe a messiah might be able to help us out.
I think, I'm dying to say what, Faad is not saying, because I think the private sector in this country has just been burnt so many times that they won't come out and say it out loud. But this, the primary reason, what I see here from a very policy, lens, is the distortion of incentives and a lot of distortions in Pakistani market. It's the elephant in the room no one is talking about, but let's talk about corruption. So I think, and it's not just me thinking, but the research is backing up. Innovation does not happen in countries where there is distortion in the market and there is unfair advantage given to some players over others. So if there is a free market and fair competition, the private sector will be more than happy to invest in R&D because there is a business case to it. But when the business case falls apart because there are distortions in the market, look at who is making the most money in Pakistan. I don't want to say it, but there is a very unfair advantage given to a certain section within the economy, and then the profit.
Sorry to cut you.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you, but I'm not stopping you from naming names or telling us who is actually making most of the money. And secondly, when you talk about these things, right? I can understand when there's a monopoly or a duopoly in a sector, but when there's nothing, And I've given you a couple of examples already. I can go on. What explains that? And can you operationalize your argument that corruption might be impeding our R&D?
Operationalize it, you want me to get specifics? I would rather shy away from that, but I do think that, on the ground, when you go on the operational side of things, if you have to, the hidden cost of paying, and businesses are doing already paying that, they're incorporating that into the cost of doing business. So and that is why whatever is happening is still happening. There is some economic activity still happening. But when you are talking about attracting FDI, when you're talking about involving private sector into larger stakes and having a larger say in it, then it has to be a free market, and no informational asymmetries for them to invest in R&D, because it's a lazy way of thinking, because they want a safe investment. We see how much investment real estate and buying cars, like you said, and then the difficult thing is to and of course the access to finance is an issue. We've already discussed this, that the state is the largest borrower and private sector lending is very low. So these incentive distortions have to stop for this, all of this, to just the market to self-regulate, for the market mechanism to self-regulate. So that's all I want to say. But I really want to discuss that shipping and logistics point, because that is, research shows all over the world that trade only grows when there is competition in that. And I again want to bring in the technology aspect on that. So not IT as a sector, but to introduce, the innovation through technology and through solutions, not only on the regulatory side, but also on, for example, shipping companies. Why aren't we using technologies where we can track a ship virtually from anywhere in the world, and then that creates a certain type of transparency. So I think bringing in technology, creating those transparent institutions, will create those kind of markets that are free and fair, and gives private sector the incentives to make profits fairly and no hidden costs. And then it is only natural that you start investing in R&D, because then you want to compete not just with your local economy, but with the world, with the region. I'm glad we are discussing, and our Prime Minister is visiting and trying to foster regional cooperation. But unless we have the the groundwork done domestically, I don't think that will translate into much. For that, I think it's time to just get fair.
Right. But just to qualify my point about R&D, and I think that even during corrupt times, people can get intelligence when it comes to private intelligence regarding investment opportunities. In India, of course, I'm not citing India as an example of corruption, but I'm just citing the example of their private sector. I'm sure whosoever among us has gone to India and has actually gone to their FICI, one is inundated with the kind of projects and readiness they have. They inundate you with information, Komal, and somehow it seems that we are lacking in that. There doesn't seem to be any initiative coming from the private sector side also. So that concerns me. If you want to react to that, please do. Otherwise, I'm going to Faisal.
I would just agree on you for that. The concern on why the private sector is not investing, regardless of similar situations like the same legacy as India. For that, I feel maybe there needs to be more public-private dialogue, and create that kind of trust that we still don't have, and not just like a checkbox kind of public-private dialogue, but like I mentioned before, regular feedback mechanisms where you come to, and we have to move out, from the elite capture, because we're already certain groups, certain trade associations, for example, Aptemize there in textile industry, but we have to move out of that. We have to go to the SME side as well, hear some more feedback from how people are experiencing the environment, the regulatory framework. I think once we start these kind of public-private dialogue, then we set an environment for discourse in the country, for intellectual discourse, for idea sharing. And that is a cultural, behavioral shift, more than just, policy.
That's a very good answer, and I actually thank you for actually mentioning SME also, because that is something that I want to zero in on. And Faisal, this is a great opportunity at this moment. We can talk about this. We have repeatedly seen various projects of lending schemes, for example, Prime Minister's loan scheme on startups, right? And at that time, there were two flaws, and they are glaring ones, right? One was you submit your proposal, whether it is good or not. If it is approved, then you go for dipping, right? And then through that raffle or whatever, they actually pick random names and then you get money, right? This is one aspect. But the second thing was that the secretariat, although it was in PMO, but then the organization that used to answer for that was SMEDA, Small and Medium Development Authority. Now the question is, when you go to their website, all they are telling you is how to actually go invest in animal husbandry, agriculture, how to actually, make energy through biogas, through manure, and similar kind of stuff. Why is it that we lack that kind of know-how or understanding? Again, this is about R&D, right?
Yeah.
And Samhita should have the kind of resources, I'm sure they do, to come up with new innovative ideas. Even you can go to other countries and their websites and just copy paste a lot. But even that isn't happening. Secondly, you need money. And I understand that in certain aspects, the government might be the major borrower that might be stopping the banks from investing in the VC or venture capitalism sector. The question is, why is it that I haven't seen even one big company doing that? Why exactly is this happening? Otherwise, perhaps we could have seen many startups that could have been innovating all the way.
Yeah, and I think that trust hasn't been, generated in Pakistan's economic sort of sectors. And I think when we talk about the up-to-date ideas or futuristic ideas, I think even if we don't go towards the futuristic ideas, if we can simply look into what Muhammad Yunus from Bangladesh did, he did a marvelous job when it comes to small businesses and the kind of money lending,
Not small business, microfinance.
Yeah, microfinancing.
Which is like another altogether different sector.
Yeah, and that was an initiative actually changed many lives in Bangladesh, and today we can see that Bangladesh has progressed in terms of its economy, in terms of its industries, and whenever we talk about coping with the demands of the world, they are way ahead from us. That is why they are outperforming many countries in the world in terms of economy. But when we come towards Pakistan,
I'm glad that you actually brought up Grameen Bank or Village Bank, so to speak, their model. It is amazing. But you'll realize, funny that you actually spoke about trust also, because usually when you go for VC investments, you get some collateral. But in microfinance, you don't need collateral. This is the amazing part. So essentially, while citing lack of trust, you are advocating for a project that is going to actually rely on trust.
Yeah, and that is highly un-economist of me to, of course, highlight.
I just want to qualify what exactly we are talking about right now.
Yeah, but I think, when it comes to, of course, lending money from the banks or from the private sector to the smaller business or, semi businesses or industries, I think it needs to be done in Pakistan, and that can, of course, create more jobs, and eventually it can, grow the economy. The size of economy would be growing in that context. And I think it is important to, of course, look into it. And the thing you highlighted earlier related to what's on the website and what's not, believe me, this is the case. It's like somebody created the website 5 years ago and forgot to update it.
And I think don't get me into that. I can go on, I can cite so many glaring examples.
And the very early talk when I was listening to Komal, she highlighted about ease of business. I mean, the ease of business, it includes this aspect as well. This is actually part of the ease of business, and I think this needs to be looked into. And overall, if we talk about Farrukh, I'm glad that you highlighted earlier about
I'm being told that
blue economy. We can talk to WAHEED for a while. That just allow us 1 minute. If we talk about the blue economy, I think we are lacking on that. And when it comes to, of course, tech transfer to Pakistan for using the preservatives and packaging of that, seafood and all of that. We lack in that, and I think we need to initiate that as well.
And you can also add value, right?
Yeah.
But regarding the blue economy, there's a term that is very interesting, and I've heard it from Navy, but I'm sure it is used all over the world. It is called sea blindness. You can't even see 1,300 kilometers of sea, actually, on your course. But I'm told that we have to conclude the program here. Raja Faisal, thank you very much for your time. Faad, WAHEED, always a pleasure. Same goes for you, Komal, Kenneth, Shakeel. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Always a great pleasure hosting you. Viewers, you have listened to all these issues, but the concern again is one. The Prime Minister is doing whatever he can, and you can look at the way he has been actually, pushing forward the country's case. And I'm not exaggerating. This is the government channel, and of course, usually everything is hunky-dory said here. But my humble submission is that when you look at the way IMF last EFF was just disappearing, and the Prime Minister rescued the whole thing on the last day. And the way we have actually started, and by the way, we got SBA, and now we have another EFF, and that is not all. We are seeing countries and institutions all contributing. So the Prime Minister is doing his best, and so is the Finance Minister, the finance team. But you and I, as the citizens of this country, whether we are consumers, whether we are producers, we have to also ask ourselves, why is it that we are not contributing that much? This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.